Welcome to the Transportation Sales Tax Program, also known as RoadWise. I'm here in Folly Beach, and I'm going to be talking with the mayor of Folly Beach. His name is Tim Goodwin, and he has lots of interesting things to tell us about how the Transportation Sales Tax Program is benefiting this community and the other things that he's hopeful about. So stay with us. I think you'll enjoy this one. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hey, Charleston County, let's recycle. Charleston County makes it easy. Recycling glass, aluminum cans, steel and aerosol cans, plastics 1 to 7. We recycle them all. And don't forget paper. If it tears, recycle it. Even cardboard. Recycle at work, at home, and at play. So whether you're using the 2 curbside bin system and separating, or the all-in-one roll cart system, keep recycling. Brought to you by Charleston County Environmental Management.
Welcome back to our program. As promised, I'm going to be talking with Mayor Tim Goodwin, and he is mayor of Folly Beach. And Folly Beach has had its share of difficulties, and we won't go into all of those right now, but I want to talk with you, Mayor, about the sales tax program and what it means to you and to this community. But before we get into that, tell me, how long have you been mayor of Folly Beach?
Almost 3 years. April will be 3 years.
What are your priorities here? What do you think needs taken care of the most?
Well, our number one priority, of course, is beach renourishment, and we work on that a lot because it's a continuous project. Now, the next thing is the taking care of all the tourists who come in and out of Folly Beach. And
tell us again, you were saying to me as many as 40,000 people plus could end up here in any given time.
In the summertime, on a good weekend, you can swell real easily from our 2,500 full-time residents to 30,000, 40,000 people hanging around.
So I can imagine that roads, maybe bicycle paths, maybe sidewalks, those kinds of things that the Transportation Sales Tax Program does would be important to you.
Absolutely, and especially looking at trying to move people when they get here. Bicycle paths, walking paths, those kind of things are important to us, and we're looking into trying to continue to find places and ways to do that, and ways to fund those kind of paths.
Also interesting to me was, and I should have thought of this, but I just didn't, the fact that you made earlier about Folly Beach depending almost entirely, its economy is built on visitors who come in cars and other things.
Yeah,
on
most of them in cars. Okay. And most of them come 1 or 2 in cars instead of carpooling.
Oh.
We've tried some public transportation projects in the past, but it's hard to think about it this way. And this was explained to me years ago when I was a fledgling council person by a former mayor. A mother with 3 or 4 children, a cooler, toys for the kids, blankets, an umbrella, don't want to stop and park their car in a parking lot, unload all the kids and all the equipment, load them on a bus, unload them again, load them on a bus. People just won't do that. Americans won't do that. They don't use public transportation, especially in the South. We are terrible about not wanting to use public transportation. And so you see a lot of cars coming on the beach, and when you stand down there and look at them, like at the bridge coming on, there'll be 1 or 2 people in a car.
How about parking though? Where do they park?
Everywhere. we have some private parking lots that run for places for people to park. We have public parking lots at each walkover where people pay. We have parking areas down by the washout. The surfers hang out where most of them like to go down there. But they also park on the right-of-ways, the highway right-of-ways on the sides of the streets. And we just insist that you get all the tires off the road and you park in the direction that the traffic's flowing. I
noticed that one of the other beach communities had asked for additional resurfacing or surfacing, asphalt, that kind of thing, closer to the beach so that people would be able to park literally along the beach, taking up some of that property. Is that a good idea to extend, for Folly Beach, is that a good idea to extend, to widen those roads so that people have more places to park or to stand still, and they still have access to the beach in a very quick way?
I think I know who you're talking about. And if you look at their roadways is a lot more modern than ours. So they have wider aprons or wider right-of-ways on the sides that would be a little more conducive to that. And even maybe to angle parking, which our roads are so old and so small that the DOT doesn't want us to use angle parking because you'd have to back into the highway before you could see anything. So extra asphalt's not going to help us a whole lot. And the way our beach is set with the houses over a period of years, some rows of streets disappearing into storms over in the past years. It's just extra aprons is not really conducive for us. So we look at trying to put them on places where they can parallel park to the road, but we have enough room to keep the traffic flowing and keep the cars out of the way.
Now you have applied, and your council have applied for transportation sales tax dollars. I bet it was a very hard decision as to what you would ask for, because there are several categories. And I note that the South Carolina Department of Transportation is helping you with the bridges.
Yeah.
As far as requesting those dollars, do you think that what you did ask for was the priority for this community? And I understand what you asked for was that the drainage be taken care of, many of your drainage problems. Why drainage?
Well, because we suffer like all barrier islands or the peninsula city. At high tide, there's not a lot of place for the water to go. I mean, it's just, the water comes up to your back door if you're living on the river, and it's just not a place for it to run off until the tide changes. So some of that is you building ditches and drainage areas that's going to hold water, and it's going to hold it for a cycle, but when the tide goes out, hopefully everything's working properly so the water will run off. Now, and it gets the water out of the street and the puddles of water that you have to drive through, if not.
Is that always the problem when it rains heavily? That we find that the rain comes out of the ocean and we see it along the street, and maybe even some of those businesses are right across the street from the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, we don't see it from the ocean as much as, rain is rain.
Yeah.
And it depends on if you get a lot real fast and it all wants to run off because it's not soaking in the ground. That's when you tend to see the flooding occur. If it's 2 or 3 days of rain and it's long, slow rain, it soaks in the ground and the ditches can hold it, you don't see the flooding as bad. It's that sudden impact. You get a half inch of rain real quick in 30 or 40 minutes, and it's got to go somewhere because it's just not going to soak up in the ground that fast.
When we come back from the break, I'd like you to help me discuss this idea of additional dollars from the transportation sales tax program. And I also would like to get into this notion of gasoline tax. We don't have much of a gasoline tax in South Carolina, and it seems like that would be a big help to communities like yours as well. We'll be right back in just a moment. We'll talk about those subjects and others.
Hey, Charleston County, let's recycle. Charleston County makes it easy. Recycling glass, aluminum cans, steel and aerosol cans, plastics 1 to 7. We recycle them all. And don't forget paper. If it tears, recycle it. Even cardboard. Recycle at work, at home, and at play. So whether you're using the 2 curbside bin system and separating, or the all-in-one roll cart system, keep recycling. Brought to you by Charleston County Environmental Management.
Welcome back to Transportation Sales Tax Program, otherwise known as RoadWise. We're talking with the mayor of Folly Beach, and he is Tim Goodwin, and he's been explaining to us some of the needs that this community has had and will continue to have, most likely, because it's a small island here, and it gets a lot of visitors every year and during the year, and there's many opportunities to take advantage of a program like TST, Transportation Sales Tax, in order to ensure that your roads and pathways and the like are kept up to speed, and you've been trying to do that. As far as the sales tax program is concerned, will you go after that again, those dollars?
Sure. We always looking at, as we talked about earlier, we're looking at ways to fund projects, and our next biggest project that way probably is working with the Battery to the Beach people, Charleston Moves, and trying to maybe develop some multi-use paths that could be used by a bicycle or pedestrian on the side of the street to get them here and then to get them to the county park areas, which is the ultimate goal for those.
Do you get a good deal of bicycling here or automobiles?
We get
Which, both?
We get mostly automobiles. Now you get a good bit of bicycling by people who live here or tourists who come in and they'll rent bicycles, and it's easier to ride your bicycle 4 or 5 blocks and find a place to park it than it is to move your car, especially in the summertime. But we do get a lot of summertime activities with these, I guess, bicycle clubs, bicycle races, just groups as you see them all over the Charleston County area, groups of bicyclers on the weekends moving from one place to another, and they'll come ride out here and ride to the beach and turn around and go back. So we do get a fair amount of bicycle traffic.
I know that you've seen the articles and read about the fact that South Carolina has an abundance of needs in terms of bridges and roadways and even the bicycle paths, but especially the bridges and the roadways. And I noticed coming in here that 2 bridges are being worked on coming into Folly Beach. I don't know how you pulled that off, because there's some folks that say they can't get the Department of Transportation to do it because the Department of Transportation says it has no money. But how do you deal with all of that?
Well, the bridges, the Department of Transportation, they look at these bridges and they inspect them. So they're the ones that decided it was time. And these bridges are 50 plus years old. So they've been there a long time. They were not building bigger bridges. The bridge is going to be wider in that it'll be 2 lanes of traffic still, but it'll, back to the bicycles, it'll have a bicycle lane on either side and a pedestrian sidewalk on either side. So the bridge will be wider, but it won't handle more lanes of traffic. It gets wider for pedestrians and gets wider for bicycle riders. But the highways and the work that's done on the highways is greatly needed. And like our bridges, there's a lot of them, I'm sure, all over South Carolina that need to be worked on, replaced, and roadways redone.
Well, we're told that, at least by the federal government, that we're probably one of those states that has the greatest need in improving our infrastructure, period. And so that would be the bridges and what have you. Had the state not stepped in and taken care of its bridges, because those are state bridges, what would you have done?
Well, if the state doesn't take care of the roads and you end up as a city having to take over the roads, then you have to look at ways to fund that. You're looking at people's taxes going up. So if I'm living on a barrier island and my taxes are going up, then all these people who are coming over here free of charge, because we are the most public accessible beach around for public walkways and accesses, then all of a sudden you would probably see those mindsets starting to change. Well, if we got to take care of all the infrastructure, then we'll do like a lot of other places and put up a gate. And then we have total control over who gets to come, who doesn't get to come.
Closed communities.
Right. And that would be a terrible thing for the state of South Carolina.
Yeah.
And the Tri-County area.
Mayor Goodwin, why is it that taxes, the tax that would provide for the problems we're experiencing here, which has to do with poor roads, poor bridges, why do you think the politicians in Columbia won't handle this?
Well, anytime you talk about tax increases, you got a political hot potato. Nobody wants their taxes increased. But if you talk about tax increases on usage, like taxes on gasoline, then you as a citizen can help control that. You can ride your bicycle more, you can use public transportation, maybe you walk somewhere instead of driving your car 2 blocks. But that is a usage tax, and you have to be able to sell it as a usage tax. And it's a usage tax for me, it's a usage tax for you as a citizen of South Carolina, but it's also a usage tax for all those people who are coming to South Carolina, not just Folly Beach. But you think about all the people that go to Hilton Head, all the people, tourists that come in driving on our highways, using up the highways that go to Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. There's hundreds of thousands of people using the highways, but they're not help keeping them up. They help tear them down, they just don't help keep them up. So that's what you have to do. The second part of that whole equation is you have to make the public feel comfortable that when you put a tax on something to be done, and it's going to be earmarked for a bad word to use in politics these days,
yes.
but that's what you're doing with that tax. You're saying this is where it's going to go. You have to prove to the public that, yeah, we were good stewards of your money, and we took the money in and we put it on the roadways. We put it in the infrastructure that we said we were going to put it in. And once you convince me that you're a good steward of my money, I don't mind you getting it, I don't mind you using it, or I don't mind helping you pay for something that's going to benefit me and my community, and that's the way people think.
The transportation sales tax, as you know, within the next 25 years or so, is expecting to raise so many millions of dollars. And that's off a half a penny, a half a penny that goes into a sales tax. People, some say that people don't even miss it because they don't really think about it being there. But I'm wondering, and I want you to answer this when we come back from the break, I'm wondering what would happen if we had no additional sales tax, or what happens in the 26th year, I should say, when it's all gone. We'll be back in just a moment for the answer.
Hey, Charleston County, let's recycle. Charleston County makes it easy. Recycling glass, aluminum cans, steel and aerosol cans, plastics 1 to 7. We recycle them all. And don't forget paper. If it tears, recycle it. Even cardboard. Recycle at work, at home, and at play. So whether you're using the 2 curbside bin system and separating, or the all-in-one roll cart system, keep recycling. Brought to you by Charleston County Environmental Management.
Welcome back to our program. Again, we're talking with Tim Goodwin, who is the mayor of Folly Beach. And I just threw him a doozy there for a second. I don't know if it's that big a deal, but my question to you is, just think about this being the 26th year of the transportation sales tax, which means it would have been gone because it's expected to be available to the public for the next 25 years and raising enough money to take care of some of the problems in our communities. It's all gone, and the state sits on 16 cents, whereas other states have 30 cents and 40 cents and that kind of thing to take care of their infrastructure. Our infrastructure is in serious trouble. Our people like to ride in cars. They don't want to take mass transportation. And so I've sort of set that picture for you. Where are we going to go from there?
Well, I'll give you a visual and all the folks at home a visual if they watch the History Channel. On the History Channel, there's a program that says Life, or the U.S., Life After People. You could say life after the transportation tax. And you look at our roads and where we are today, and the infrastructure and where we are today, and say, wow, we need to do a lot more work. But if we don't have the money, are we going to be willing to step forward and take it out of our pockets